While his brother wasn't looking, the little boy sneaked into the locked basement, and found that his parents, who should be on a trip, had turned into zombies and were locked in the basement, with barely any supplies at home. They had to eat bugs to get protein, at best. The boy could only catch a few mice to feed his parents. Over time, even the zombies developed anorexia from this diet. To help their parents get more nutrition, the youngest son Benjamin and the second brother Oliver planned to go out and kill people. The eldest brother Jiwa naturally disagreed.
Si las matas, eres un asesino.
Matamos perros.
After that, Oliver and Benjamin set off with a cart. They came near an abandoned building. Although they didn't see any living people, they came across a zombie chained by an iron chain. Oliver fired a crossbow at it, then went to the place mentioned by his brother. Sure enough, they saw a man with a mustache living nearby. The two brothers rested there for one night first. The next morning, they set up traps. Benjamin pretended to be lost and injured, shouting for help to lure the man over. The poor uncle believed it and was about to step forward to help, but stepped into a trap. Oliver fired a crossbow at him right away, then picked up the shotgun the man had dropped.
Mírame los ojos, cabrón. ¡Mátame! ¡Dispara!
The man grabbed a handful of dirt and threw it into Oliver's eyes, then climbed out of the pit and knocked him down. As Oliver was about to be choked to death, Benjamin took out a screwdriver and stabbed the man in the back. Oliver quickly picked up the shotgun and stood up. Benjamin picked up a large stone and smashed the man's head with force. The boy, who didn't dare to kill even an insect, actually cruelly killed a human being. The two brothers carried the body onto the cart and took it away. But they didn't see someone in the shadows watched the whole thing. Why did the three brothers, at such a young age, end up in such a situation? This story has to start from last year, in the era of the zombie virus raging. The three brothers, Jiwa, Oliver, and Benjamin, lived in an isolated forest, sustaining their daily lives by hunting. The two younger ones played wildly outside all day. Because their parents were absent, the eldest brother Jiwa took on the responsibility of head of the family. He was very disciplined and would do a set of fitness exercises as soon as he got up, then drink a large cup of thick insect juice to get the protein his body needed. But no matter how hard Jiwa tried, he couldn't make up for the lost left leg. The three brothers were lucky that day. They found a black and white puppy in the forest. Indiana peacetime. The three might have kept this human companion, but unluckily, the most important thing at present was always to fill their stomachs. Jiwa hunted it without hesitation, then took the trophy and returned home with his two younger brothers. The youngest, Benjamin, caught a frog and planned to keep it as a pet. But during the meal, the second brother Oliver realized something was wrong. The eldest brother had actually cooked the frog. Benjamin realized his pet had died miserably, and hated his eldest brother deeply.
Cuando vuelvan mis papás les voy a decir que mataste a mi ranita. Eres el peor hermano del mundo.
In fact, not only Benjamin was angry, but Jiwa also felt aggrieved. He was in his youth and also wanted to be free like other peers, instead of being trapped here to raise two children. As soon as he finished speaking, a shrill howl suddenly came from downstairs. Oliver quickly carried his younger brother into the closet and told him not to run around, then put on homemade armor with his brother, and carefully went into the basement. Behind the iron gate, the tightly fastened chains were constantly being pulled and tensed. No one knew except the brothers that their parents were locked in this basement. Benjamin would never wait for his normal parents to report his brother's misdeeds to them. Benjamin got up early the next morning. He heard a sound in the yard and went to report to his brother right away. It turned out that the dead zombie they had hung in the yard had fallen to the ground. The three of them hung it back on the tree, then started their day's work in fitness. Children of this age wouldn't give up playing, even if there were major matters. Although there were no decent toys in the woods, the two younger brothers still regarded it as a paradise. Only Jiwa couldn't stay optimistic, because a small cultivated vegetable garden had failed again. He was upset and couldn't help but roughly interrupt his brothers, telling them to go to the pond to fetch water and make compost right away. In addition to the problems with the crops, they hadn't caught any prey for weeks, so Jiwa had to go further to look for some. Oliver was very anxious when he learned, and didn't want his brother to take risks alone, but he had to stay and feed the zombie parents in the basement. Just then, Benjamin cut in his two brothers, and said he was very scared and couldn't sleep, so Jiwa helplessly opened a storybook to tell his brother Grimm's fairy tales. Today's story was Hansel and Gretel, the one about dropping breadcrumbs as markers along the way. When Benjamin heard the chapter about monsters in the forest, he couldn't help cutting in his brother. Were mom and dad eaten by monsters? Otherwise, why haven't they come back to see us? Jiwa smiled and comforted Benjamin not to worry, that their parents would definitely come back. But Benjamin always felt that his brother was lying to him. The next morning, he got up quietly, took the key from his brother's table, and approached the basement, but he was caught before he could act.
¿Cuándo me van a dejar verlo?
Te dije hasta que tuvieras 10.
Oliver lo vio desde antes de que tuviera 10.
After struggling with his thoughts, Jiwa decided to take his youngest brother out with him. There was no place for children in this world, although Jiwa was tall and strong. Benjamin had 2 healthy legs. In a sense, they were equal, and only by cooperating could they survive. Finally, the second brother stayed behind to guard the house and feed their parents, while Jiwa set off with his youngest brother. He had long since gotten used to his prosthetic, and with daily exercise, it didn't hold him back from riding a bicycle. The 2 brothers approached a building that looked long abandoned, and searched for usable supplies inside. During this process, Jiwa was shocked to find a middle-aged man hanging in the corner, with his abdomen cut open, and an inexplicable pattern painted on his side. This might have been the work of religious fanatics. Jiwa stopped his brother, who was about to go upstairs, and lied that there was nothing up there. The 2 rested nearby in the evening. Benjamin couldn't understand why they didn't move into the abandoned house, so that each person could have their own room. His brother explained, "We have to feed the monsters in the basement. Now that we've found them, we can't let them starve. It's the same as with those little pets you kept. Besides, what if Mom and Dad come back and can't find us?"
¿Sí van a regresar para Navidad, no?
Later, the second brother, Oliver, told his older brother via walkie-talkie, "I'm scared." Not long ago, he carried food to the basement to feed his parents, but Oliver's arms were too short to reach the food bowl, so he had to brave opening the iron gate. Unexpectedly, the zombies were stimulated by the smell and almost pounced on him. Although Oliver was only a little older than Benjamin, he was far more mature than his younger brother. After confiding in Jiwa, he regained his strength and didn't cry, or ask this brother to come home quickly. But Jiwa was worried about his brother. Since they had already collected a lot of supplies, he decided to set off home as soon as possible, but pedaling for a long time overburdened his prosthetic leg. Jiwa had to stop and rest for a while. He prepared to go to the river to fetch water, and specially left the crossbow with Benjamin for self-defense. Unexpectedly, during the process of fetching water, there was a rustling sound in the woods. Jiwa quickly got up and accidentally knocked his backpack into the water, but he couldn't worry about that now. He quickly ran back to the spot and took Benjamin away on the bike. At the same time, Oliver was on the verge of a mental breakdown from the feeding work, and couldn't get a reply when he tried to contact his brother. It seems the walkie-talkie must be in the waterlogged backpack. The sudden loss of contact threw Oliver into despair. Thankfully, Jiwa and Benjamin finally returned the next day. Oliver asked his brother why he hadn't answered the phone. Jiwa first asked Benjamin to boil water for a bath, then patiently explained the situation to Oliver. But the youngest brother couldn't resist his curiosity. While the 2 were away and entered the basement with the key, he picked up a bone from the ground and threw it in. But unexpectedly, the 2 zombies suddenly pounced and grabbed Benjamin's clothes. He finally recognized that these monsters were his parents. Luckily, the 2 brothers arrived in time to save Benjamin. At this point, Jiwa could only confess to his brother. Actually, before Benjamin was born, there was a virus called Omega that brought the world to a standstill. But things weren't as bad as they are now. At the time, people just couldn't go out and live normal lives, and countries' economies collapsed one after another. As the virus continued to mutate, the vaccines developed by humans were also continuously upgraded, until a critical point was reached, where the virus mutated faster than the vaccines could be updated. Mom, Dad, and other survivors had to use untested vaccines to survive, and as a result, 83% of people developed Omega side effects, and became what they are in the basement. Luckily, while they still had their sanity, our parents took the 3 of us to this forest away from the city, and taught us how to survive in the wilderness. Now the world is in chaos, and no one knows if anyone can develop a cure for the infected. All we can do is take care of our parents, and wait for that day to come. Now that Benjamin knows the truth, he must help his brothers take care of their parents like an older child. After the youngest brother learned the secret of the basement, they finally didn't have to hide their parents' situation anymore, and could take them out for some air. The 3 children went out fully armed to walk the zombies, a scene that was both thrilling and tender. Benjamin was especially excited, constantly sharing past stories with his mother along the way. He believed that if their parents could remember who they used to be, they could slowly return to normal. The 3 brothers led the zombies running all around the yard.
Denme chances de entrenarlos unos días. Van a ver que tengo razón.
The zombies in this film's setting are different from the past. They still have physiological functions such as excretion, so the 3 brothers planned to give their parents a bath, and then clean the basement. Benjamin even asked his second brother to help decorate the room, trying to make the basement look warmer. For a moment, it was as if they had returned to the normal life of a family of 5. Benjamin tirelessly carried out training activities, slowly teaching the 2 zombies to go to bed and obey human commands like puppies. Facts proved his idea was correct. Now even if the chains around the zombies' necks were removed, they wouldn't attack humans casually. Benjamin couldn't wait to take out a notebook and teach his parents to speak and read.
Hemos avanzado, pero tampoco te la mames. Ellos nunca van a ser como antes. Pero no vas a poder hacer que hablen, ni que se acuerden de quién eras tú.
Jiwa finished speaking and brought a bucket of dead mice. Father picked up one and devoured it raw. Seeing this, Benjamin somewhat understood what his brother had said earlier. Although their parents' condition had improved slightly, they were still far from normal. Just then, Mother suddenly squatted at the door and repeated the words in the literacy book. The dejected Benjamin regained his vitality again. Tomorrow night was Christmas. Although things were different now, he still hoped they could have a special dinner together like last year. Facing the pleading of his 2 younger brothers, Jiwa could only meet halfway, tie the 2 zombies in the living room to spend Christmas Eve together. They also took a family photo. Benjamin held the photo and showed it to his parents, but the zombies suddenly became restless. Jiwa quickly asked Oliver to find something to stuff their mouths, and the terrifying howls finally died down. The 3 ate dinner nervously, with Benjamin trying to teach his parents to eat real food. Unluckily, the zombies preferred dead mice to the carefully prepared food. They waved their spoons and protested non-stop, while Jiwa was worrying. He heard the sound of someone approaching outside. He picked up his crossbow and went out to check, but was attacked sneakily by a masked person. Due to his prosthetic leg, Jiwa had difficulty keeping balance, and his weapon was quickly snatched away by the person. After being kicked several times, he sat down on the ground. The masked person pulled off the rags on their face. Jiwa realized it was a woman. She explained that she had heard zombie howls and came to check. Luckily, Benjamin and Oliver had already moved their parents to the basement. The 3 brothers avoided the topic of zombies and said, "We're having Christmas dinner." The woman relaxed upon hearing this and stayed for a meal. She wolfed down the food in the plate, clearly starving for days. After eating and drinking her fill, the woman asked Jiwa for a cigarette. Benjamin noticed that her 2 eyes had different pupil colors. The woman casually lied, "Because I'm a witch." Then she took out a backpack, saying she had found it in a nearby river. Because the map inside marked this house, she came to check. Unexpectedly, she heard howls as soon as she approached, so she attacked Jiwa right away. The woman couldn't help asking curiously, "Why are there zombies hanging from the trees outside?" Jiwa explained, "Those were the people who used to live in this house, but after they mutated, my father hung them outside." The woman suggested that the 3 brothers take down the zombies and bury them to avoid attention, then asked if they had seen or heard any planes passing nearby. "I heard that a group of Russians are flying planes, with Red Cross signs, dropping refrigerated boxes of antidote all over the world." The woman also heard that it's a hyperimmunoglobulin serum that can reverse viral symptoms and prevent infection. After hearing this, Jiwa said disdainfully, "I don't believe it. After all, the world was destroyed by an untested vaccine." Ignoring Jiwa's mockery, the woman said, "That group of Russians rarely fly over this area. Instead of waiting to die in this house, you might as well come with me to find the antidote." The reason the woman wanted to take the 3 brothers with her was that all her original companions had been killed by firemen. The fire keepers were probably those fanatics, but Jiwa didn't want to deal with outsiders. Just as he was about to order her to leave, Oliver asked the woman if she wanted to watch a movie. Although they only had 1 record and 1 DVD at home, it was better than nothing. The woman was overjoyed to hear this. She hadn't spoken to anyone for months, let alone enjoyed a luxury like watching a movie. The woman quickly introduced herself as Leah, and begged Jiwa to let her stay for 1 night. The projector in the 3 brothers' home was powered by a pedal-driven generator. The hapless Jiwa pedaled furiously, while the 2 younger brothers were already fast asleep. After all, they had seen the film countless times, and only Leah was engrossed in it. Jiwa soon reached his limit. He stopped and told his second brother to take Benjamin upstairs to rest. Leah was grateful to Jiwa for taking her in, and going to the trouble of showing her the movie. So after taking a long-awaited hot shower, she slipped into Jiwa's bedroom. Neither of them had many opportunities to meet peers of the opposite sex, and Jiwa naturally couldn't resist the temptation. But he hadn't forgotten the 2 zombies in the basement, and still asked Leah to leave at dawn. In the middle of the night, Jiwa dreamed of the day he was injured. His calf was bitten by a zombie. His mother, who had been a hospital matron, knew that amputation was necessary to stop the virus from spreading, so she raised a machete and severed her son's leg with her own hands. While Jiwa was having his nightmare, Leah was sneaking around the living room stealing supplies and food. Just then, terrifying growls came from the basement. Curious, she found the key, and went down the long staircase into the basement. Leah cautiously approached the iron railing, but the next second, the zombies grabbed her hair. Luckily, Jiwa heard the noise and rushed over. He pulled Leah to the side with all his strength, and the zombies only tore off a clump of bloody hair. Before Leah could demand an explanation, her legs were suddenly grabbed by the zombies. There was no escape, and she was quickly disemboweled. Jiwa could only watch as Leah died in front of him. When the two younger brothers ran down upon hearing the commotion, they stumbled into the bloody scene. The two zombies were fighting over a piece of intestine. After this incident, Jiwa was more determined than ever to have no contact with outsiders. They nailed wooden planks over all the windows, then nailed Leah's body to the yard, to prevent her from turning into a zombie. Finally, the three brothers used bed sheets to make a marker in the backyard, praying that a Russian plane would see the signal, and drop serum for them. The zombies in the basement, having finally had a big meal, were full of energy now. But after tasting fresh human flesh, the two zombies began to reject rats and frogs. Afraid his parents would starve, Benjamin took a machete to cut up Leah's remains, but Jiwa stopped him right away. Feeding zombies human flesh would only make them more bloodthirsty. Knowing Benjamin wouldn't give up, Jiwa poured gasoline over Leah's body and set it on fire. The two younger brothers couldn't understand their brother's intentions at all, only fearing their parents would starve. But for Jiwa, their death might be the best outcome.
¿Quieren matar para darles de comer? No somos asesinos.
A ti te vale que haya una cura porque te valen mamá y papá. Ni siquiera crees que son personas.
Jiwa was speechless. They were naive enough to treat zombies as family, yet cruel enough to want to feed monsters with human remains, and yet they were just children. In reality, Benjamin didn't even dare kill a fly, and Oliver couldn't even skin a dead dog. They actually deluded themselves into thinking they could go out and kill people. Jiwa was physically and mentally exhausted and too lazy to care, so he said, "If you're so tough, go kill people." As Jiwa had expected, the two children didn't know where to start, and were exhausted just from digging traps. Late at night, Jiwa helped his brother take off his shoes, and went to the basement with a crossbow. The zombies seemed to have been waiting for this day, and aimed their heads at the arrow right away. But no matter what his parents had become, Jiwa couldn't bear to do it. The next day, he acted abnormally and taught his brother how to make traps, then pointed out a military checkpoint on the map. When Jiwa went out to find supplies last time, he saw someone drying clothes here. If the brothers were lucky, they might really catch a living person. Jiwa warned his brothers that the walkie-talkie was broken, and that this operation was up to them. Then came the scene at the beginning of the movie. The brothers joined forces to kill an innocent passerby, and took the body away on a cart. But this behavior had already attracted the attention of the firekeepers. When they returned home, Jiwa didn't say much, only telling Oliver to deal with the body himself, and chop it into pieces to feed the zombies. In the evening, a strange roar suddenly came from the forest. The three had never heard such a sound, and could only stand guard with weapons in fear. Luckily, no wild animals appeared after a night passed. The next morning, an uncle broke through the glass and wooden planks and barged in.
¡Vete, disparo! No vengo a robar, ni quiero hacer daño a nadie. Solo quiero esconderme.
The uncle claimed he was being hunted by the firekeepers, and would rather be shot by Jiwa than go out and be caught by them. Jiwa had no choice but to let him in, but the uncle's behavior was no different from that of those fanatical believers. He kept reciting the so-called holy words, most often mentioning the 7 trumpets. The Bible records that the 7 angels blowing their trumpets is a sign of impending disaster. After the uncle finished reciting the entire passage, he suddenly tore open his clothes to reveal a tattoo. It turned out he was also a member of the firekeepers. At this point, the uncle's accomplice cut through the wooden planks and tried to break in, and he grabbed a piece of broken glass and stabbed Jiwa. Hearing their brothers scream, the 2 little boys rushed out regardless of danger, and helped Jiwa into the basement to hide. A trumpeter with an axe didn't want to hurt the children.
Pero quedamos que todos los niños...
Hazme caso. Estas bestias impuras no pertenecen. No han sido bautizados.
Now that Jiwa was injured, and the 2 younger brothers were too young, their only chance of winning was to release the zombies. The smell of living people increased the zombies' appetite, and they quickly killed 2 humans. But the uncle didn't care about the death of his companion. He threw a smoke bomb into the basement, successfully forcing Jiwa and the other 2 out. Then they were tied up tightly in the woods. The firekeepers carried out a strange ritual around the campfire. The uncle ordered the father of the 3 children to be thrown into the fire to be burned. Then Jiwa was placed on the altar.
¡Dios! ¡Proveerá el cordero!
¡Suéltenlo!
The poor Jiwa was brutally killed by these cultists, and the struggling little family completely collapsed. Just then, the zombie mother suddenly pounced on them and untied Oliver's ropes, but the uncle, relying on the Russian airdrop serum, didn't take the zombies seriously at all. The uncle pinned the zombie mother to the ground, and stabbed her wildly. In the nick of time, Oliver appeared with an oil drum. He poured gasoline all over the uncle and set him on fire. The latter was instantly engulfed in flames, letting out heart-wrenching screams. Oliver quickly saved his younger brother, then picked up the serum from the ground, and injected it into his mother, but Benjamin was bitten on the wrist. The only vial of serum had already been used on their mother, and Benjamin cried out in despair. The next day, Oliver buried his father and brother, and left the forest forever with his mother, who had just returned to normal, and his younger brother who had mutated. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to it.